Welcome to GMFB Live in New York. Happy April 13th.
2 minutes left to go in the big game. It's Julian Edelman scoring the game-tying touchdown.
Against Seattle, yeah.
Against Seattle, and you're like, all right, what else can this guy do?
He can do it all.
He can do it all. So if you go into the Seattle game,
there we go.
Okay, so you have the Seattle game, and it's I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to make sure.
Remember that route he ran?
It was an incredible route.
It was wide open.
Skates. And then, of course, there's the catch of all catches in a Super Bowl against the Falcons.
Here we go.
This is it. You know, they're down 28-3. They're coming all the way back, and that's a catch. Somehow that's a catch. That keeps the dream alive. And yet, if you think that's all it is from this 3-time Super Bowl champion, there's actually one more moment. It's a game where the offense wasn't clicking, and it was Julian Edelman as Super Bowl MVP. So there's a lot of great receivers in this league, and I love Calvin Johnson and Randy Moss and Larry Fitzgerald and the rest. I don't know many who have 3 Super Bowl titles and an MVP award and did it in the biggest and brightest of moments. 12 years in the league with Julian Edelman was the epitome of toughness, clutch, and Boston, really. He became that figure of, oh, look at this guy, this undervalued, undrafted guy who can go out there and be so scrappy. So I'm going to miss him. I think he was a unicorn in a world of huge wide receivers with big numbers. Julian Edelman didn't have the biggest numbers or do the crazy highlights. No, he just came up in the biggest of moments and represented so much for that team.
Patriots fans certainly going to miss him, but I think football fans definitely going to miss him. But I also get this feeling that he's not going anywhere. Like, we're not done with Julian Edelman.
I don't know, he got beamed up by the space ship.
Yeah, he's got more for us. He's got more in store. Football players, we kind of have a saying, right, that you die twice. And when you retire, that's your first death. And I think the video, if you have not seen the video that Julian Edelman posted on his retirement speech and everything that, you know, that the game meant to him, do yourself a favor. The next time we go to commercial, go on your phone or your device, go to Twitter, watch the video. I think it was so fantastically done. He was eloquent in the way that he handled it, and yet he maintained his composure, which is not easy to do. Anytime I see a player retiring from sport, it brings you back, right? We all personalize everything. The Julian stories, you personalize your own retirements. It's an emotional time, and for him to do what he did, go up there on his own and sit in that chair and reflect back and talk about it, I mean, it was just another masterful performance. You showed the great plays and the great catches. I think that's how we all remember him, but seeing him sitting in that chair and listen to the play-by-play going on around him as he looked around the stadium and kind of had his final little moment. That's a special moment for Julian and for every player that doesn't get that. It's great to see a player have that moment and have that send-off. The highlights that you showed are great, and the catches, the second best catch in Super Bowl history, no doubt about it.
Oh, second best, Sean?
I think when I think of Julian Edelman, it's the toughness that you talked about. It's the beard that you were referring to, the growth that as a Patriot that he went through. Super Bowl against Seattle, you showed the touchdown catch. How about the hit that he took from Cam Chancellor over the middle and spun around and forearm down and all and ran 10 yards after the fact? Most people would have laid down on the field. He bounced right back up. He took a devastating hit from Buster Screen again in a game against the Jets. Most players would have been off on a stretcher. He bounces right up. That toughness is so big. But I think we talk a lot about this time of year right now, the draft, the pro days, all the stuff that's going on. Julian Edelman's 7th round draft pick, right? Like, this is not a glitz and glamour start to his career. And I just think his story and his perseverance, there's guys out there right now that aren't going to get drafted in the first 2 days. And you know, that's okay. Julian Edelman proved that you can have a great career by being tough, by showing up every day and outworking people.
Well said, Sean. Really well said. In a lot of ways, I think we saw his legacy pour out yesterday. He hadn't announced his retirement for more than 5 minutes, and a civil war broke out on social media about whether he should be a Hall of Famer. People and players are really passionate about Julian Edelman. I screen capped it with my phone yesterday afternoon. The trending topics read as follows: Edelman, Julian, Jules, JE11, Canton, Hall of Fame, all of them for a guy who caught 36 touchdowns and never even made a single Pro Bowl. That's how passionate people feel about him. And is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. Probably not. He's a legend. There's this great moment in 2009 when he was an undrafted rookie standing on the sideline of a preseason game, and he had returned this huge punt for a touchdown against the Eagles. Wes Welker's a huge star at the time. He's standing there in street clothes, and Belichick walks up to Welker. He goes, "Hey, you ever hear of Wally Pip?" And Welker's like, "Wally who?" And then it's just like this punchline, and that did happen. I'm glad you guys showed like the immortal plays. Here's why Edelman is a legend. Those are great plays. They'll be remembered. Let's go to the 2011. 2011, the Patriots are banged up. Here's LaDainian Thomas is going to get the ball from Mark Sanchez. First ballot Hall of Famer here. Who comes in? Boom!
Nice.
Julian Edelman playing defense, as he did a lot that year, just right at the legs, throws himself in there. Look, maybe Calvin Johnson and Julio could do this. Maybe they would do this. I don't know. How about another one? Vince Young, college icon, incredible athlete. He's going to scramble the same season. Vrabel can't get him. Edelman in the open field wraps him up and saves a touchdown. He would go on to play a ton of snaps in the AFC title game that year on defense, most of which he guarded Anquan Bolden. He had a forced fumble in the game. People respond to toughness. People respond to teammates. There's a lot of more talented guys who would not get an iota of the response that Julian Edelman got within 5 minutes of retiring yesterday. People are passionate about him. He should be remembered. Legend.
So toughness, legend, growth. I'm just going to make sure we don't forget he was an absolute maniac. Like this is a person who I got to see up close and personal up there in New England in my years, and maniac is just the word. And I think it's one of those things where the way he was on the sidelines or the way he was on the duck boat that first Super Bowl he won, where he was Teen Wolf and took his clothes off in like the negative degrees. I will never forget those moments, and none of those fans up there will. It was the kind of maniac that made everyone better and made everybody more calm, if that makes sense. It's not supposed to make sense, but he would be like that on the sidelines, revving people up, and he had this attitude about him, this confidence. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it came from his dad. I don't know if it came from Tom Brady or both of them together. But that sort of the maniacness of him really just worked in that locker room. And he had such a personality that we don't really make synonymous with New England. And I just want to give him credit for that and his personality and what we've seen him do and using his voice for certain social issues later in his career, which we've seen very prevalently over the past couple of seasons. Also just the fact that, like, I remember being up there and seeing him do Burger Time videos with, like, Shane Vereen. And I'm like, what are you doing, like, doing YouTube videos? Like, Bill Belichick has to hate this. What are you? And now what? Everybody's doing social presence. He had a logo. He sold shirts. He had the squirrel. He had a brand that he created. So when all these kids now are making brands, like Julian Edelman really was a pioneer at the front of that, Triggs, and it wasn't that cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned the social causes. Coming out and being a voice to anti-Semitism is something that you don't see everything from everyday athletes. And he's done it when Myers Leonard had an issue. He did it with Deshaun Jackson. And he says, let me help you. And also, he's beyond just one social cause. He's several social causes. So the brand is one thing, but backing it up with his words and his platform, Kay, it's invaluable. It's
been very cool to watch. At GMFB with your favorite Julian Edelman throughout the show. And we, of course, as a network, will be highlighting some of the Edelman career moments. It's going to take a long time to do that. So it all kicks off tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern as you bring in Mike Giardi one last time. You heard our thoughts. Let's broaden it out here. As far as the Patriots go, there is a lot up in the air as we get closer to the draft. Give us some info. What's going on with this Patriots quarterback sitch?
Well, Kay, they remain very much involved with several of these quarterbacks that will be drafted in just a couple weeks, including some of the guys at the higher end of the scale. And that's the plan, is to add at least one more quarterback, likely through the draft, although, again, don't rule out a potential trade. As we well know, they've been connected to Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the price remains too high, and San Francisco at this point doesn't seem in any rush to move him, but that's someone who I think remains sort of at the top of their list. But they want to add to that room of Cam Newton and Jared Stidham. And that said, I will tell you, and someone said it to me the other day, and I was, we're comfortable with Cam, was what they told me. And I said, well, comfortable doesn't sound like, they're like, no, we really feel like there will be a leap in year two, and that physically he'll be better and mentally he'll be sharper in running this offense, obviously with a full off season now and more time to sort of get himself wrapped around that playbook. And of course, some of his new teammates, they've already been throwing out on the West Coast. So they feel pretty good about what they've done at a bunch of other positions, and now they just need the quarterback play to elevate. Like I said, they'll add at least one more. Cam is still the leader in the clubhouse, though.
Can they make the playoffs with Cam? Sure, maybe, but I think until they do add that long-term guy, it's going to feel like a post-Tom Brady transition without that name on that roster. Giardi, we appreciate you and talk to you throughout the show on this morning. Julian Edelman hung it up. Your thoughts at GMFB. And up next, does the healthy Dak Prescott make the Cowboys the favorites in the NFC East? Could